Ah, oh boy, design. Let's talk about it. It has been 10 years since I started learning to design. A lot of change, I think, and a lot of has been developed as the years went by. And I want to then share in this video what if I learned, what I feel is important, and yeah, like just have a conversation about it, kind of similar to my 10 years of drawing. To begin, I want to say try out everything, be a generalist. For example, from websites, to creating maybe tutorials, which is what I did in the past, creating UI, maybe it's 3D design, coding, branding, logos, like all these different avenues of design in general. Typography, it can also be motion design, like giving yourself the space, especially in the very beginning, to explore gives you the possibility of understanding what exactly do you want to delve deeper into, as you gain more experience. And it can be really helpful. Like if you already niche down since the very beginning, you don't give yourself the opportunity to play. And I fully believe that now compared to 10 years ago, I feel like that's what I was still doing. I could just play and wonder, plant seeds and see which turns into an actual tree. This is kind of like quoted from the book Rick Rubin, which is a very good book about creativity. And that's essentially what I feel the very first phase of learning to design is, or learning to create anything, I would say, like especially creative related. And that has helped with understanding what makes me tick, what makes me feel, oh, let's go into that direction. And yeah, the fundamentals doesn't change, right? So it gives you then the opportunity to explore into different territory within design itself, right? As yeah, you can just apply the same fundamentals. So I think it's very important to learn the fundamentals of design. Once you learn the fundamentals of design, so that's like perhaps understanding spacing, colors, typography, composition, shapes, especially the basic shapes, and I think proportion also plays a role in here. But essentially, the core things that makes up design, like the ability for you to solve a problem or to create a design artistic project, more on that later, it's important to continue training upon those skills. Tools comes and goes, trends comes and goes, but the fundamentals doesn't change. So practice those early so that you build upon good building blocks to apply into future projects or future skills and so on and so forth. Create specific projects and briefs. I feel this is like something I should have done a lot more. Well, I did do it. I did start doing it more often after a couple of years. But creating specific projects and briefs gives you the opportunity to make some form of box for yourself, like some guidelines, so that you can create in a much more sandbox manner and not just loosely do like, oh, I'm gonna do some icon design today, or I'm gonna do some web interfaces today, or I'm just gonna do some coding creative thing today. Like if you have a brief, it's easier than to know, okay, this is what I need to do. This is like the kind of core ideas behind this. Maybe like you're trying to speculate some form of solution for something. That's like something I'm doing now, creating a brief about, because we are like so disconnected from reality, and myself included, I'm always chronically online scrolling sometimes on Instagram. It got me to think about what if like there's an object in which I could have that allows me to be more present. So far, an idea is popping up is like a prototype for maybe a device that could capture sound and remix this and make it loop, but not in these bigger things, because this already exists, but more of a handheld slash smaller device and it has like this futuristic, sleek, modern look, but still a mixture of the traditional and natural nature thing. And hopefully then this is a device in which you try to capture more sounds in nature. But yeah, you get the idea. You kind of speculate certain things, certain product ideas, in which then you can create a brief around it, and then you can be more targeted. Like, okay, I need some form of icon designs for this. I also need some logo designs, maybe some little bit of copywriting, and maybe you might need to collaborate with someone if they are like also passionate about this topic. But yeah, this gives you the opportunity to be more direct and more focused, and allows you to grow on a much more rapid speed and just loosely say, I'm gonna just experiment and play with this tool, which, don't get me wrong, also has its merits, because that's what I'm doing too with this tool called Cavalry, right? Like, where I'm just trying to understand, okay, what can this do? And once you understand what this software tool can do, then you're able to create a more specific brief on how we can apply this skill. So I think it's very important to have some form of brief or personal project going on, so that you can always continue to expand upon your skill, or just continue to, create new things for your portfolio. Because once you're in a studio, a lot of the works that you do will be NDA. And a lot of the times as well, if you are able to share a work that you work in the studio, usually it's almost 6 months or to a year that you have to wait before you could actually post that work. So just create briefs for yourself and try to continue this active exploration of learning. And yeah, number 4 is always competitive. And love it and hate it, AI is also making that even more, how can I say it? It's also changing the field and how design will be in a couple of years from now. Like, why is that? I think the thing of the AI thing right now is, sure, you can prompt things, and then you can do, like variations of the variations quickly. However, you still need the fundamental skills, right? You still need the thinking, the eye for design, the idea, in order to use it properly. And if you don't have the technical skill, you can't really create the actual file, right? Like, sure, you're creating like a PNG, a JPEG, but probably in the future that's gonna change. But that's the issue that's going on right now. Like, everyone can now become a jack of all trades, since AI can basically go into all different fields. Like, it can do coding better, it can create visuals, you can create copywriting with it, you can make briefs for yourself by using the tool. Like, if you really can't think of coming up with a brief for yourself, you can just use AI to help you practice. I mean, this is kind of like what this website called Briefbox was doing. Well, not AI, but it was giving you briefs for you to practice on, or the daily UI one, which is another one I practice from, to just practice daily UI. But now you can use AI tools to help you create and test things rapidly. There is now this tool called, for example, Jitter. Like, for motion designs, that's great, because you can just rapidly create UI prototypes quickly, and there are some jobs that require you to use that tool, right? So the point is, the field is always changing. The skills or the tools is always changing, right? But the fundamentals will still stay the same. It's just that the tool we use now compared to 10 years ago is different, right? Explaining what you're thinking, explaining what you want to do, and talking about the project and presenting it gives you the opportunity to sell the thing, or kind of sell the work better, Like, that's one skill I remember I struggle with a lot, communication. Like, it's still something I'm trying to improve upon, but it's becoming a lot easier to do so, because otherwise I wouldn't be doing this YouTube, right? Like like now I'm just like reading out of bullet points, so it's not like a really full script. Like I'm trying to just communicate with you as if I'm having a conversation, right? So communication is very important in order for you to describe not only what you're doing, but it also gives you the opportunity to allow you to see what you are thinking, right? Especially like if you're doing written format like this, it gives you the opportunity to do so. So whether for you that's creating newsletters or video format or whatever, like use these forms to practice your communication skill, as that allows you to much easier sell what you're trying to say, or just not even sell, but just trying to explain to others like what you're trying to say. Like do it as if you're explaining to a baby, right? That's usually like what people say as well, and that makes it easier to create or to explain something. So yeah, job security is not as what it seems to be nowadays, right? So it's important for you to really be experimental, explore, and learn, so that you have better chances of finding work later on. Especially now, because as I mentioned, AI is changing this whole design field. It's changing how company operates. Some companies are already putting AI into their pipeline. Love it or hate it, even though there's like a lot of ethical issues behind it, but they are like integrating it in part of their workforce so that they could rapidly prototype, so that they can create products in a much more efficient speed. It's a debatable thing, but whatever. So it's important for you to continue to update your portfolio. It doesn't need to be like on a weekly basis, especially like if you have a full-time job, but I feel it's very important to have a personal project so that you could have it on your portfolio, right? And it still allows you also to explore things that you are more interested and fascinated by. And who knows, maybe the studio will pick that up and they offer you then a different position or a different project, so that, you know, like you continue to feel the fun, the drive to continue making. Because in the end, if this isn't fun, you kind of not want to continue with it, right? And so another important thing, which I kind of touched upon in the previous point, which is to share your thinking, you know, whether that's like through video format, writing, or something else. Especially like where everything is gonna start looking the same with the rise of AI, it's important to voice your insight, to voice your opinion, maybe share your thinking, share your process. It doesn't have to be like everyone becoming a educator about, you know, like how to do design, because not everyone wants to create videos like this, not everyone wants to create tutorials, right? However, personal branding is becoming of such importance in today's time, and some people prefer just writing. You have like Substack for that. Maybe like you use your own website where you have like a monthly newsletter, which is something I'm gonna try doing now. It's just something I thought about today actually, because I always ask, like I came to the thought that why don't we as creative, as designers, have some form of newsletter to, you know, inform people what we are doing. Maybe you sell artworks, or maybe you sell resources, and that could be a nice way to maybe monthly update people, like, you know, this is what's going on, and so on and so forth. So sharing allows people to have more of this human connection between you and them, especially if you are, you know, more of a personal brand. I mean, you can just share only your work, that's also okay, because some designers just do that. But yeah, knowing that it's okay to make art, you know, like design isn't always about problem solving, because that's always the general premises that you only use design to solve problems for others except yourself. You know. And as time progresses, you start noticing that artists are designers and designers are artists. Some example is the Akoko Labs mechanical keyboards that combine design aesthetics, man, with some form of illustration aesthetics, you know. Like even for myself, I try creating just prints based on design language, and using that as a way to find possibilities to blend art and design together. So that was like one way I was doing it with these posters, but also artworks and so on and so forth. And essentially, you can also create your own products. Like another example is Joyce. I really love like the way her website interact, but also like the products she has made based upon her personal branding and everything. And yeah, so what you're seeing is like more and more designers are also like creating art with their design skills, like solving your own needs, solving your own problems to create something artistic with it. It doesn't always need to be that you're solving client problems. You can also be like a graphic design express your graphic designness in an art form, right? So yeah, it's okay to make art. I give you permission. I'm not sure why I'm bowing like that, but it's something I struggle with a lot. You know, like thinking, can I make art with design? Can design be art? It's still a up to discussion, but yeah, not all jobs will be fun. Most of the time, you won't find a client that will say, you know what, here's the brief, you guys do your thing and come back to us. Those are like the premium slash a la prima, I don't know, which is like very rare, but it does happen, right? Like even at Buck, we did have like some of those clients too, which gives us the opportunity to actually explore and create something that both the client and the team was really, fascinated and excited and inspired by. So yeah, some clients will be like, all right, we need 100 revisions, as in like change this color to blue, red, light, purple. If you just gave them the options right on the get-go, that could solve the problem. But then you face the other issue of paradox of choice. Ha! Yeah, so it's important to realize that just because you learn design from art school, it doesn't mean that it will be the same once you get out of it. Art school in general is a bubble, right? A bubble in which you are with your artist friends, but you are not really speaking with actual people that's outside of that bubble. And that is why it's difficult for students to adapt to this change of climate, I feel, especially graduate designers, right? Because art schools teaches you to be more of a conceptual thinker, so kind of like an art director, which I think is the direction we are heading. However, they don't practice like the more craft part, like the fundamentals of making actual typography, as you also have a lot of class, but this is a discussion for another time. So in general, not all jobs will be fun, not all of them will be equally the same, right? School projects is different than commercial projects or projects that's like more applicable in the real world. Like speculative design kind of gets you to practice both of that, which is like what I mentioned as well, and the point about creating briefs for yourself, as you get to start strategically think, all right, what are the possible revisions or things you have to do as you evaluate the first prototype and so on and so forth. But yeah, take care of yourself. This is something I touched upon in the previous video of 10 years of drawing too, is just to really pay attention about your health, your body, your mind, and your spirit, whatever. It's important for you to take breaks, to get up and go for a walk, to not stare at a computer for so long. I'm saying this because I still face the same problem, but I've been incorporating walks now. Sometimes even going for long bike rides, and sometimes just meeting friends for coffee. So that's very important to allow yourself to just get out of this design bubble, so that your mind has its moments to, really fine tune itself and not always be like actively thinking, making, right? You need to let the engine to rest in order for it to produce better work, right? A lot of the solution or things that needs to be solved usually happens in the back end of our brain, which is the subconscious part, which is the reason why when you're having like a walk or when you're having shower, meditating, you have like these aha moments, or when you're about to go to bed, right? So it's important to incorporate these forms of just going for an exercise. Maybe it's indoor climbing, outdoor climbing, you know, like doing these activities that gets you away from the usual grind on your vertical slash pixel box. With that, I want to conclude this video. You know, those are the things I've learned throughout the years. Yeah, it's has been like a very interesting ride to explore these different avenues of what it means to be a designer. I mean, I still struggle with that term. Like, what is a designer? What is an illustrator? What is an artist? You know, and yeah, it's something that continues to mold itself with new things that pops up, new tools, as I mentioned it, and overall, as you continue to explore and learn, experiment, you find your artistic language, or you find your design language. I say artistic, but more like design language, and what fascinates you, you know? So yeah, thank you for watching, and I shall see you guys next time.